Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Now, some of you guys may be wondering what happened to that forgotten pond that was full of carp that I was fishing last year. Now that pond has very minimal access, so I wasn't actually wanting to travel there very often. There's no road access, you can't just jump off public transport or from a car and go down to the bank. You have to travel a long way off road, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't really fish it that much last year. But this year I have got myself obviously the brand new electric bike that you've seen in a few videos, the Himiway Zebra, and that thing has enabled me to travel there multiple times so far this season, and I have caught a few fish. The trip was taking me about, let's say, half an hour to 40 minutes on the standard mountain bike, but with the electric bike it was taking me like 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes max. And that was me loading all the gear on it as well. It's got a long battery life, so it didn't matter how far I was travelling, it never ran out of power, which is pretty cool. So what I was doing is, because I was using the bike to fish up that way anyway, doing some other filming, some topwater pike fishing and some forgotten ponds pike fishing, I decided it was a good idea to take some bait with me. And what I would do is I would bike over to the forgotten pond, I'd get the drone, send it up, fly it over the pond, do a recce, see where the fish were feeding, see where they were most likely to hang out, seeing where the bank excess was, and then I was putting a bit of bait in. Most of the time it was just biscuits to see if I'd get them to rise, but I was also putting in sinking baits too, and I could see there was lots of fish, lots and lots of small fish. And I figured it was probably about time to start fishing it. So I decided, since I'd seen some fish cruising on the surface after doing my recce, that my first session I would just take a single rod, a bag of floating baits and some hook baits, and I was just going to try and stalk some of these carp on the surface, just spend a couple of hours seeing if I could get one. Now, this is where my trouble started. The bank access was so much worse than it was last year, massively overgrown, even in comparison to last year. There was only one spot to fish. I went to that spot now, and once again, absolutely covered in branches, trees. You could barely get a rod through the branches, and also the lake was a lot higher than it was before. The area where I was actually fishing last year was covered in water, so nowhere to even sit down. Absolutely horrible. Now, because I had no access to the bank really, I couldn't even make an overhand cast. It all had to be underarm casting. I could barely get a bait further than about 20 yards. It was a real struggle. But after a few close calls with carp coming up and just mouthing away from the bait, finally this happened.
Oh, that's a nice one. His back came out of the water as it's taken as it's taken the floaters. Come on, turn around towards my bait, go on. Come on. I think he's turned a different direction. No, it's come for it, yes. We got it. Yes. It's not a huge fish, but he's probably the biggest one I've seen so far in front of me. I know there's bigger in here. Really fishing tight. Oh, and the other fish have just come in now. But this was the biggest one I've seen in front of me so far. Flicked out that bait to it. Boom, took it. He's trying to get in the weed, but we're not going to let him. Fishing 12-pound line straight through. Plenty enough backbone to be able to pull this fish in. Can't even set my big camera up here because it's so overgrown, there's no way to set the tripod up. Yeah, he's a chunky one. Almost got him. Yep, go on. Oh, yes. You guys won't have seen him go over the net because I had to crouch right down then. That is a cool looking common carp.
So there's quite a few different carp in this venue. I've seen quite a lot, all different sizes, ranging from small ones up to some real big ones. And I just think I've caught the exact same one that I caught last time. You guys will have to let me know, maybe check out the old video and see. But this one's got a short tail, and I'm pretty sure if I remember rightly, the one that I caught in the last Forgotten Pond video also had a short tail. So there's a very good chance this is the exact same fish. Which is a bit gutting really, because there's so many really nice fish in here that I really am surprised that the first fish of my Forgotten Pond carp venture this year just happens to be a recapture, but still a beautiful healthy fish. few wounds from spawning, like the dorsal fin's a little bit torn, probably from ripping around in the reeds. Right, let's get this one well rested and let him go. What a beautiful fish. Soaked. So it was a fantastic result, kind of. I realised 100% after I got home and checked the footage back that that carp was in fact the exact same carp I caught last year on a floating bait as well, which I was gutted about because on the drone I'd seen lots of big carp in that lake. So it was a shock to me that I just so happened to catch the one I'd already caught. Absolutely baffling to me. But never mind, it was time to get up there again. Now this time I decided to do things a little bit differently. I decided to go up and pre-bait the night before and then go out and fish sort of ledgering tactics out down right in the margins underneath the tree branches. So hopefully the pre-bait would draw the fish in all the way to that one swim, because there's only really one swim you can get to on the lake, and then my baits could be placed there first thing in the morning, 5 a.m, sat waiting where them carp are feeding. At this point, with all the travelling I've been doing with my sessions and going up to the lakes, my bike had now done over 300 miles bike riding. That's how much riding I've put in using this bike, and thankfully got no punctures so far, but that's probably because of the big fat tyres on it. So now it was time to start session 2. It was an absolutely beautiful morning. I got down on the bank for about 4:30 and there was a beautiful mist creeping over the lake, and what I could see immediately is that the area of the pond in front of me that should have been crystal clear, which I pre-baited the night before, was now absolutely chocolate coloured. There was about a few inches of visibility. I knew the fish were down there feeding. Now I had 2 different rods, both of them exactly the same actually, but both rigged up slightly differently. One of them was on an inline lead, so technically a fixed lead, and one of them was on a free running rig, because I wanted to see how the fish reacted to each one of the rigs. Both of the rigs, I had some brand new hooks I'd never used before. Both of those were size 10s, barbless, just a simple hair rig, one in the margin and one out to the reed line in the hope of catching some carp. Now, we'll see how that session went on right now.
There was literally a carp feeding just down there. It's all coloured up and mucky. I'm going to put out one rod out in this swim here, and one rod just out to the left. And then we'll sit on our hands and wait for the alarms to buzz off.
Yes, fish on.
Don't think it's very big.
Definitely not very big.
We'll take it.
Oh, it come off.
Damn it. It's annoying on the rod that's just down here. I've literally just had a 1 toner, but I just turned this camera off because I just filmed another bite on that rod. I'd only just put it back in the water, so unfortunately I missed the take. Ooh. Fish on, fish on, fish on. That was a really, really sensitive bite. It's a slightly lighter rod. Going for the snag. Oh. Slow down. Oh, he's come off. Oh, you're kidding me. That was a good one. Did it just come off? He took me in all the weed. Well, I've just re-rigged up on the rod, which I've just lost a big carp on. And just while I was doing it, I've had a single bleep on the alarm. The rod tip was really bouncing, so I don't know if a small carp has picked it up, hooked itself for a second and then managed to throw it. Oh, one of us got pulled into the water. Holy shit. This one's not an alarm, it's just watching the tape. And I heard a rustling sound and my rod was pulling through the reeds. Definitely not as big as the one I lost. A lovely little common. And it's in the net. What I'm actually going to do is just let him rest in the water there while I get this rod cast out and make sure the other rod's cast out and sorted out. Oh, what the hell? I've just got one fish in the net. While this fish was in the net, the other rod went that I was dealing with before, which I hadn't set back up yet. That yanked off, pulled off the rod rest, got snagged up in the tree, come off. And just while I was getting that rod reel back in, this rod then pulled back round again. Jesus, it's madness. Absolute madness. Another one in the net. And it's another small one. Oh, I've lost my other one. My other one came out of the net.
Well, not one of the big forgotten carp that I was hoping for today, but they're all a really wicked shape and really nice bronze coloration on these forgotten pond carp. And this is one of the ones that's going to grow up to be a big boy in the future, I'd imagine. Fantastic little carp. Smallest one of the session, never mind. Can only go upwards from here really, can't it? Now, to put it bluntly, even though I had caught a couple of carp, the biggest one being about 4 or 5 pound, session number 2 was a bust. I had maybe 6 or 7 runs on the fixed lead that all resulted in fish either dropping the hook or just coming off. Now, these were hooks that I've never ever used before. There was a specialist hook. I'm not going to name the brand, but I'll show you the packet. And I just didn't get why the fish weren't staying on. I don't know whether it's because the hooks weren't as sharp as the ones I normally use. Maybe it's because I was fishing lighter rods, so maybe the hooks didn't set properly. But most of the runs didn't even involve fish being hooked up when I picked up the rod. I think they were throwing it. Some of these fish might have been really small, because obviously I did land some small fish that session, but I definitely know a couple of them were big. But obviously we had an issue with a weed line in front of us too. I was fishing heavy enough, but I think fishing barbless hooks, there was obviously managing to twist the hook out when they went into the weed, and that's where we kind of messed up. But now it was time for session 3. So session 3, we started off exactly the same as session 2 pretty much. On the bank for about 4:30, 5 o'clock. A beautiful morning yet again. We were forecast some rain later that day, so I was unsure about how much filming I was going to get to do. But the only thing I'd changed this time is, because I managed to hook up to most fish with a free running rig the time before, I decided to change both the rigs over to a free running rig, just a 1 ounce lead, free running on the line, about an 8-inch hook length coming off that, and just a standard hair rig. But this time I changed the hook. Obviously I didn't really want to use the hooks I was using last time, because I lost so many fish. I decided to use a slightly smaller hook, actually probably more match style tactics, size 12 hook, fake sweet corn, and some soft hook pellets on the hair rig as well. Almost match style tactics, because I know there's lots of smaller carp in here, and I was actually quite happy to catch whatever decided to take my bait.
Oh, there we go, there we go. Oh, good timing. We got one. Yeah, we got one. Oh, not a big fish, I don't think. Oh, man, look at that rod bend. Not a big fish, but I'm fishing quite tight today. I don't know if these fish go in the snags, I don't want to lose them. And it's bigger than the ones I caught last early morning session anyway. If I land it. Oh no, it is only a past. Oh, it's a tench. It's a tench. Let's go. It's not a bad size one either. Yes. Did not expect that. Let's go. Actually, it came off just before it went into the net. Yes. I'm happier for that than I am for if I'd have caught a carp just now. Yes. The other rod's gone. The other rod's gone. Oh, it was. I think there's a good size fish. There is a good size fish down there because his bubble's fizzing up right on the spot where the bait is. That's going to go in a minute. Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh! What did I just say? Literally just got a tench in the net. I thought I best wait to deal with him because this rod looks like it's about to go. It's not a very big fish, definitely. It's probably smaller than the tench I've got. I think it's just a pasty carp. Yeah, proper little pasty. I might actually handline it. I was going to bring the tench over here, but might as well look it in the water. Well guys, would you look at that? In my opinion, way better than any carp. Beautiful Forgotten Ponds tench. Possibly never even caught before. Not a monster fish, but a real nice healthy male. And hopefully there's a good stock of these in here. You never know, there might be more. When there's plenty of carp in here, it's almost like a fishery, isn't it? It's wild pond. Absolutely amazing. I've got a mosquito on my arse crack, so I need to deal with that. Let this fish go. Ow. Oh, we got one, we got one. Yes, we got one. We got another chance. We got another chance. It feels like another decent one. Okay, I can see my line bending against a tree branch. Oh, good start. Oh boy, it's definitely a good one again. Problem with these overgrown swims, playing the fish is a ball ache. Oh, come on. Problem is he's gone around a tree branch. Oh, there we go. Now he's going underneath the weed. Don't lose it in the weed, don't lose it in the weed. That's where all of them go. He's out the weed. God, this is an intense fight. He's going back into the weed. Keep his head down. Come on. I think we've got a chance of landing this one. He'd put up a great run though. He's trying to go around a tree branch. He has gone around a tree branch. I'm in the tree branch. He has. He has. It wasn't even a big fish by most standards. It was a double figure fish. I'm not sure quite how big. Whether it was just into doubles or whether it was a mid double. Somewhere between there. Let's say for example I came down and cut down the branch, which is just above the camera now, which actually is the one which that fish got caught on. And then there's only one other branch I'd need to take out, and it's this one just behind me here. Because these two branches are actually the only two that impede on this swim. If those two were gone, I'd have a swim that was about 18 to 20 foot wide, completely open. I'd have overhead casting space and I'd have all the room to play the fish in. But then you're opening the whole swim for people almost to invite people to come and fish it. So then anyone that's wandering around this area or taking a walk will see there's a great big open area on the pond, easily fishable, and then you've no longer got an overgrown, wild, forgotten pond. You've got a pond that's now getting hammered by people. So it only takes a few people to spread word of mouth that there's a nice fishable pond with plenty of fish in it, whereas a pond like this just puts people off. It's too much effort. So I'm keeping the wild, overgrown pond as it is, and I'm just going to have to deal with the swims and bully these fish a bit more. I didn't realise just how much push I could put on these fish. It took a lot of strength just to be able to break that line then to get it from out the snag. I could have had that reel locked up landing that fish. Every session's a learning curve.
So it was an absolutely flying start. That's what I like. A tench from the forgotten pond. I knew there had to be tench in one of these ponds. They're so wild and overgrown. It's a perfect habitat for tench. But for some reason I just never expected to catch one. And that absolutely made every single session that I'd tried so far. I didn't mind that I'd caught the same carp as before. I didn't mind that I'd caught a few pasties. That tench made it all worthwhile. That session I did actually get a few more runs. I caught a few more fish. I caught some more pasty carp. Unfortunately, I lost maybe 3 more big carp. Unfortunately, all the carp that I was losing were all big. None of them actually ever broke me off. They were just coming off in the weed. I was fishing strong enough. I was fishing 12-pound line, 12-pound leader, and these fish were powering through the weed. The weed wasn't thick, but the problem is, I think when the carp were going through the weed, the moment they was making a turn, it was twisting the hook out of the mouth. So there was 2 things I could have done, I think, that could have improved catching these fish over the course of these 3 sessions. One would have been probably to use a micro barb or barbed hooks. Even though I don't particularly like using them in coarse fishing, that's the only way to stop these fish from twisting the hook out when they went into the weed. And 2, if I'd have just worn chest waders. If I'd have worn chest waders for the day when I was surface fishing, I could have cast over the entire lake and got some of the carp that was hiding out towards the opposite bank even. And if I'd have worn chest waders, I'd have been able to control the fish better. When they were shooting underneath the tree line, obviously I lost one decent fish actually in the tree right underneath my swim. If I'd have had waders, I could have just walked out 5 yards and pulled it out, and I would have landed, a double-figure carp. So I've decided I'm going to go out again. Probably by the time you're watching this video, I may have already been out and done this. But I'm going to go out, I'm going to take chest waders, I'm going to take 2 rods, 1 with floating baits, 1 with a ledgered bait. I'm going to put the ledgered bait down in the margin, wade out, and then flick floating baits around and see if we can combine all that I've learned over the last few sessions targeting these forgotten carp fish, and hopefully maximise catching, and hopefully, fingers crossed, catch one of those big carp, because I've seen a mirror in there that looks really nice. I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's not the usual format, a bit of a talk through this one, but I hope you've enjoyed it anyway. I've enjoyed filming over these last few sessions. Altogether, you guys might be interested to know, each session was only a maximum of 4 hours long, so we'll say a maximum of 12 hours fishing this pond for the fish that I caught and all those fish that I lost too. And hopefully when I get back out there, I can put a few big ones on the bank. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.